Why doesn't my photo look and feel like the moment that I saw? This difference between what I experienced and what I shot killed me when I first started. But over the last near decade of photography, I've cracked the code to capturing the moment. The reason for this difference is there's a gap between what you see in your mind and what the camera captures as a machine. In this video, we're going to cover the 3 things you need to know to bridge that gap. We're going to understand why your camera sees different from your eyes, how to compose to bring out what you actually saw, and also how to bring out the emotion of an image in editing. Let's start by understanding why cameras and eyes work differently. Your brain gets information from your eyes. Your camera's brain, the sensor, gets information from its lens, but it's the way that they record that information that's different. When you're looking at a scene, your eyes don't see everything sharp at once. You're focused on one spot in the center. Everything in your peripheral vision around the edges gets blurry. Your eyes jump around several times per second, and your brain puts all of this information together into one complete, sharp image in your mind. But here's the kicker. When you're looking at a scene, your brain focuses entirely on what's most interesting to you, and it ignores or hides everything else. Say you're looking at a pretty flower. Your brain makes that flower the spotlight of what you see. It doesn't matter if there's a busy background behind it or people walking around. There might be other plants or branches that get in the way. All that extra stuff is filtered out as unimportant. But your camera doesn't do that. It records everything equally. It gives equal attention to everything at once. Your camera doesn't know what caught your eye. So when you look at the photo later, all those things that your brain ignored are now fighting for the attention with your subject. The gap here is bridged with framing and composition, by simplifying your frame to only the most essential elements. The difference between what we see and what we photograph often comes down to trying to show too much in a frame or not showing enough of what's most important. Start by noticing what you're actually focused on, or in other words, what in this scene caught your eye in the first place, and what is it that you want to highlight in this image? Oh, that river is pretty. Is the entire thing what caught your eye? Or was it how the water flowed around the rocks and the light sparkled off the surface? Focus on that exact moment and detail that caught your eye. How the light hits in a scene, the contrast of textures and colors, or the way something stands out against its environment. Make that one thing the spotlight of your photo, and fill the frame as much as you can with that thing. Move closer to it, zoom in, or do both. If something caught your attention, get close enough to let it be the dominant part of your frame, not just a tiny section. Or try photographing the scene in fragments, like how your eyes bounce around to multiple points to form a complete image. You don't necessarily have to capture everything in one shot. Sometimes capturing a series of moments is the best way to record an experience. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what about a larger environment? What if I want to show multiple things in one shot for context? Well, we can simplify in other ways. You need to scan your frame for distractions before you take the shot. Look around the edges and look around your subject. Are there things standing out too much, pulling attention away from what's important? You want to reposition your camera to remove the unnecessary stuff. Small movements of your camera can block out distracting elements and clean up the edges of your frame. The more you can simplify your frame, the clearer your message becomes. Your brain naturally picks what it pays attention to, but your camera doesn't. So to bridge that gap, you need to be just as careful about what goes into your frame as what doesn't. Ask yourself these questions. Does this thing add to the story of my photo? Does it give the viewer more information about my subject? Or is it distracting? Cut things out that are not absolutely necessary. Do this as best you can in camera, but remember, you always have cropping. It's an extremely powerful tool to clean up compositions. So, you've taken an intentional shot of what you want to highlight the most. Simplified, cut out distractions. You get back to your computer and look at your image, and it still doesn't feel like what you experienced. Why? Even with perfect composition, there's another piece to consider. The emotion piece of the puzzle. And that's what we're going to help bring out in editing. What we have that the camera doesn't is memory and personal experiences. When we look at a photo later and it doesn't look quite right, the reason why might be that the photo captures what you saw, but it doesn't capture what it made you feel. And that's the most important part. This is where color psychology comes in. Colors in your image affect how people feel when they look at them. Different colors make people feel different emotions. Your camera records everything in a neutral way. It doesn't pick favorites unless you tell it to with composition. The moment is already there. We just have to bring out the right colors in editing. Each color and the intensity of it can have several different emotions. So when I edit, I want to lean into certain feelings with specific editing tools. Let's break down the three main ones. The first, and in my opinion the most powerful, is white balance. Going towards 6,000 Kelvin and higher will feel warmer. This creates an inviting, hopeful, nostalgic, or personal feeling. Going down towards 3,000 Kelvin will be colder. This can feel futuristic, like solitude, isolation, or sadness. The second tool is color grading. I can use color grading to amplify those tones even more. I'll put my main tone, a warm or cool color, into the highlights and midtones. Then I might put the opposite color into the shadows for contrast. This might look like orange highlights with blue shadows, red highlights with green shadows, yellow highlights with purple shadows. You can flip these around too depending on which colors you want to emphasize. And finally we have HSL, hue, saturation, and luminance. We're going to focus more on the last two. The saturation or intensity of your colors also has an effect on emotion. Both high and low saturation can be effective in different situations for different purposes. Bright, vibrant colors usually have positive feelings, like excitement, energy, joy, or boldness. But when overdone, they can feel overwhelming or nauseating. Darker or muted colors can feel calm, serene, elegant, or sophisticated. But when pushed too far, can feel melancholic or empty, which is fine if that's what you're going for. But they can also feel dull and lifeless. You have to strike a balance there depending on what emotions you want to bring out. So just as your composition needs to be intentional, your choice of colors should be too, based on your desired emotional impact and context. And when composition and color are paired together purposefully, they bridge that gap between what's in your mind and what's in the photo. So to recap, your eyes focus on one point, and your brain blocks out anything unimportant or uninteresting. But your camera captures everything with equal attention, so we need to be intentional with our composition. Focus on that exact moment and detail that caught your eye, and fill the frame as much as you can with that thing. Move closer to it, zoom in, or do both. Shifting my camera to reduce busyness around the edges of my frame or blocking out distractions. And simplifying to show only what's absolutely necessary to the story and my subject. Then when I edit, I adjust my colors with tools like white balance, color grading, and HSL to bring out the specific emotions I want the photo to have, based on color psychology. I have a color psychology chart linked in the description down below that you can download for easy reference. When composition and color are brought together intentionally, you can capture not just what you saw, but what it made you feel. And that's the key to capturing the moment. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you did, hit the like button, comment down below, and let me know if there's anything in photography that you're struggling with that you'd like to see me talk about. Subscribe if you haven't already to make sure you get the next video, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.